Mr. Speaker, prior to coming to Congress, I worked at the Economic Development Board in Tacoma, and in my office I had a sign that said, "We are competing with everyone, everywhere, every day, forever." You know, that sentiment was echoed in a report by the National Academies last decade called Rising Above the Gathering Storm, which was the main influence behind the Bipartisan America Competes Act. The report provided us with a pathway on how to increase American competitiveness so that we don't fall behind our global competitors. Its findings were stark. The report told us that if we are going to compete as a nation, if we want innovation to happen here in America, if we want jobs to be created here in America, we need to make significant investments in basic research and double the funding dedicated toward research and development. That's from that report. But that's not what we're doing here today. In fact, funding for basic research in the bill that we're currently debating fails to keep up with the rate of inflation. It fails to live up to the standards set forth in that bipartisan report. When this bill was first considered in the Space Science and Technology Committee last Congress, a group of my fellow members of the New Democratic Coalition developed a set of principles we thought should guide a reauthorization of American Competes legislation. These principles included increased funding for basic research, stabilizing funding for research and development, and supporting policies that spark innovation. And we were disappointed when the first act strayed away from those policies, and are disappointed now that America Competes fails to make investments needed for America to remain competitive in the 21st century. The amendment I introduced along with my colleagues does not call for doubling the funding for research and development in the underlying bill, or put funding on pace with what was outlined in Rising Above the Gathering Storm. The amendment we put forward was a compromise, and unfortunately this amendment was made out of order and not brought to the floor for consideration. Mr. Speaker, if we fail to make critical investments in research and innovation, America will fall behind. So let's take up a bill that lives up to the spirit of bipartisanship and the goals laid out in Rising Above the Gathering Storm. Let's compete everywhere, every day, forever. Thank you, and I yield back the balance of my time.